In the grand tapestry of history, heroes often emerge from the most unexpected places. They aren't always the chosen ones, the prophesied saviors, or the hardened veterans. Sometimes they are simply the ones who refuse to back down when everyone else has fallen. This is the story of such a hero, a woman they never planned for, who became the last stand. Our story begins not on a battlefield, but in the quiet, dusty halls of the Royal Archives. Here, Lyra was a cartographer, a map-maker. Her world was one of ink, parchment, and the gentle scratch of a quill. She knew the kingdom not by its armies or its politics, but by its winding rivers, its ancient forests, and its forgotten mountain passes. While generals planned strategies and politicians debated in council chambers, Lyra charted the world, her mind a repository of geographical secrets no one else valued. But peace is a fragile thing. From the blighted northern wastes, a shadow crept southward. An unstoppable horde, known only as the Scourge, consumed everything in its path. Armies clashed and were broken. Fortresses, once thought impregnable, crumbled to dust. The kingdom's finest warriors, its most brilliant commanders, were systematically crushed. Hope began to dwindle, replaced by a creeping dread that whispered of annihilation. The capital city Eldoria became the final bastion. Its walls were high, its granaries full, but its defenders were a pale shadow of the once mighty royal army. The king and his war council were trapped, their grand strategies having failed one by one. Panic gripped the streets as the enemy encircled the city, their siege engines like skeletal beasts against the horizon. The end seemed not just inevitable, but imminent. It was in this darkest hour, during a desperate council meeting, that Lyra stepped forward. Ignored by the frantic generals, she unrolled a series of old, forgotten maps on the great oak table. They were maps she had painstakingly restored. Maps of the city's underbelly ancient sewer systems, forgotten aqueducts, and sealed-off catacombs that predated the city itself. The commanders scoffed. What use were dusty old maps against a relentless enemy? But Lyra's voice, though quiet, held a conviction that cut through the despair. She spoke of logistics, of terrain, of weaknesses hidden in plain sight. Reluctantly, with all other options exhausted, the king agreed to her audacious plan. They had nothing left to lose. She guided small, agile units of city guards and desperate volunteers through the city's secret passages. They emerged from sewers to raid supply lines, collapse tunnels to trap enemy patrols, and used the city's labyrinthine alleys to lead elite Scourge warriors into devastating ambushes. She wasn't a general leading from the front. She was the city's nervous system, directing its every defense from the shadows of the Archive Tower. Her maps spread out like a living battlefield. The siege, which should have lasted days, stretched into weeks. The Scourge, a force that had conquered nations, found itself bleeding strength against an enemy it could never pin down. Their morale crumbled. They were fighting not an army, but the city itself, and the city was guided by a mind that knew its every secret. The turning point came when Lyra orchestrated a final, daring move. Using the ancient aqueduct system, she diverted a massive underground reservoir, flooding the primary enemy camp and washing away their siege weapons in a single, catastrophic torrent. In the ensuing chaos, the city's defenders launched a coordinated counterattack through the very weaknesses Lyra had identified. When the dust settled, the mighty Scourge was broken, its remnants scattering back to the wastes from whence they came. The city was saved. And the hero wasn't a knight in shining armor or a king with a legendary sword. It was Lyra, the quiet cartographer. They never planned for her to be their savior. They never thought to look for a hero in the archives. But when all the swords and shields had failed, it was knowledge, ingenuity, and the quiet courage of one woman that became the kingdom's last and greatest stand. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more tales of unexpected heroes. See you next time.